Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode on the podcast. I am excited for you to tune into this one. It's with my good friend Nadia. She's a coach and she has so much value to offer. And I say this all the time. When I bring people on the podcast, it's people that I respect and I think have a message that's powerful and has value to add to your lives. I wouldn't just bring someone on for the fun of a conversation. Everyone has a great story, but I really want to bring guests on that bring tangible value. And Nadia is one of those people that with her Instagram and the events that she's done, and I've worked with her a lot in the past, she agitates people. So be prepared, but in the way of agitating you to see your life for what it is and to agitate you and be like, are you living on this coasting roller coaster of the same thing every day? Are you accepting life the way it is? Or through asking why and asking the right questions, can you see if this is the life you want to live? And then actionable, tangible steps. And one thing I love about this episode is we talk about things like discernment, who to listen to and why. And the other side, which is patience, being consistent on this personal growth healing journey, but also just being consistent in the fundamentals. I think we get sold on these fancy fads that get marketed to us in a great way. And don't get me wrong, we have to put, a title on this podcast that sounds really good, but there's a lot of crap out there. So I'm bringing on people that I trust, that I think have something valuable for you to listen to and to gain. And this one won't disappoint. I'm so excited for this. Make sure you're taking notes because there's so much value in this. And if you're feeling super inviting and wanting to join us in person, jump on YouTube and you can watch this and sit in the room with us. It's a really powerful conversation. Before we kick off the episode, I want to say I am so grateful that you're here tuning into this episode and in listening to the podcast or watching the podcast. It means so much to me that I get to do something that I'm passionate about, that I love, that's part of my purpose, having conversations with incredible people and friends, but also sharing that with you and you consuming this. I don't take that lightly. All the follows, all the likes, all the shares mean so much to me. If you aren't already, come over to the social handles, The Conscious Podcast, and myself, Carlo_Cirillo. Follow, like, you'll see all the goodness there. You'll see all the podcast stuff, all the little clips that I share that are going quite viral at the moment, which is incredible because people are getting those messages. But also my stuff. I have a lot of things coming out. I've been quite dormant for probably 18 months going through my life roller coaster, becoming a father, all these things, a rock bottom. Now coming out, having the podcast, I've got some incredible episodes coming up that I can't wait for you to listen to, but I'm also getting back into all the things that I love doing, which is my mentoring, which is my Conscious Blueprint program, my events around Australia, and I'm pumped because it feels so aligned. It's there to empower you. It's there to create a community and a space for you to feel that connection with other people, but to also guide you along this crazy journey of life that we are living. So if that interests you, the best way is to follow me, but the other best way, so you get notified of podcast episodes, all the events I've got coming up, and you don't miss anything, is to join my newsletter, subscribe to it. There's a link in the show notes below. If you can't find it, go to my website, www.carloscirillo.com/community, and you can enter your details there. You'll get an email from me once a month that shares all the events coming up and all the exciting things in 2025 that I'm releasing. If you're intrigued and you feel like that's something for you and you want to join in all these things, go check it out. Again, thank you so much for being here and listening to this. I hope you enjoy. Nadia.
Carlo.
We've gone on a nice walk.
Yeah.
We've got a coffee. We've chatted about life, which is always nice. I like doing that now. It's different because if we jumped into it, we'd be like, we were saying before, we hadn't caught up in a while. So it was nice to do that. I was going through your social media this morning. There's a lot of points that I can point out that you say that are that make people think why they do what they do. The one that I guess stands out for me, because a lot of your things that you talk about cover this, is why do you think people aren't happy in their life?
Really put simply, disconnection from self. And there's lots of, no, not just from self, from others. we are pack animals and we are designed to live in a collective. And, you know, science shows this. You look up blue zones, and most blue zones are communal living, community-based places. And there is so many levels of noise now, whether that's toxins in our environment, gut health issues, social media, news, this societal push that everything should be cancelled and woke, and hyper idolization of hustle success or being independent. There's just just noise. This goes so in line with what we talked about on our walk. There's just so much noise, and our brains and our nervous systems are just not designed to handle all of this noise. And as a result, it's a fucking jungle up here, but we don't even know, you know? Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Disconnected from self, yeah, from what you said as well. And I think people don't know who they are anymore. And we're in a generation that I think it's a generation that's never experienced the same external pressures, stresses, the technology, the education, the societal pressures, the economy.
Toxic environment.
Yeah.
Literally.
And then looking at, and I was saying this to you when we went for coffee, is that the people of 20 years ago never had the comparison of, who's in America doing this or doing that, or no one was really saying you should do this, you should do that, apart from like their inner circle. So the opportunities have now expanded, which is amazing, to learn, to grow, to do things, but also the opportunities to get lost are so much wider as well. And I think that people are overcomplicating their life,
100%.
and that's why they're not happy.
Yeah, it's like I'm doing a course at the moment, and they use the term explore versus exploit dynamics. So from a physiological perspective, humans are designed to explore. So you're walking, you're in nature, you see this new berry or this new animal, and biologically we're programmed to seek that new thing, to map out our environment, to stay alive, to thrive. But as a result of the amount of technology that we now have, and this kind of dopamine, everything's available to us time that we live in, that exploring is now working against us, because there's always a shiny new thing. There's always a new guru or authority or medication or supplement or thing that you're supposed to be doing. And we're victims to our biology, because our biology says chase the dopamine, find the new thing, listen to the noise. Information is power, was the saying. Whereas now really the power is knowing when to exploit, being, I found this thing works. Now I'm going to stay here and I'm going to exploit this thing until it is reached its full potential. And only in the right moment will I decide when I should look up and explore, and whether that's even something I need to do, you know? And you're exactly right. I think, and we're seeing this, a lot of people are talking back to, you know, caveman diets, and people are even being drawn back to religion and stuff like that. And I think the core of that is some people are beginning to understand it's all gotten too noisy, it's gotten too complicated. I'm not coping in this environment. I feel overwhelmed, I feel anxious, I feel stressed, I feel numb, I feel disconnected, I feel unhappy, I feel like whatever I want is always the next thing, you know? And then they're going, okay, like maybe less is more. And I like to think that's at the core of a lot of what I say is, you know, focusing on getting the fundamentals really right and creating more space for you with you. And then from that place, connecting with the right people on a deeper level and looking after your health, you know, that, whether that's physical health, mental health, all those things. Like, yeah, I just think there's just so much noise, and I want to be compassionate. I'm not saying it's easy. Like, the noise is in your face, it's notifications, it was sold to us as the answer, you know, like technology, this new thing, AI, like I understand why it feels like it's the right choice, but you know, a big thing I say is say no to normal. Like, look around, look how unhappy people are, look at the health stats, look at the mental health stats, look at the divorce rates. We're doing something wrong. You know, if your doctor was right and the teachers were right and the radio was right, you'd all be a whole lot fucking happier. you know? And I know that the more that I deviate from the norm, the happier I've been. The clearer I've been. I just said this to you before. I'm the most calm I've been in a long time because I have a certain level of separation from my emotions and my thoughts. They don't command me in every moment anymore. I can have personal things going on and I'm not consumed by it, whereas I used to be, whereas most people are. And I've only been able to create that through space, and listening a lot more to myself than I do to other people, and refining the sources of authority, which again, we spoke into earlier, of like, just even me. If you're listening to this podcast and you've never heard of me before, turn this podcast off, go look up my Instagram, go to my website, decide if I have any fucking right to take up space in your head. Because cool, you might respect Carlo and you might give him authority and he has me here. So I agree. That gives me a certain level of more than if I was just a random spruiking off the side of the street. But that's still not enough. Your head, your mind, your body is a fucking sacred place. Stop giving Abby fucking Chatfield space in there. Sorry, that was like a fucking... That's just the first person that came to my head that's just caca on TV and radio, right? Like... Who the fuck is this person? Oh, they were on maths. So now you fucking listen to them for life advice. And I say that even with me, go look into me and decide if I'm worth giving authority to. Because just because I speak with some confidence and I sit like this and I talk like this, that doesn't mean shit.
It's so interesting because this leads into a thought that I've been having the past couple of weeks is, like, and I was saying before, I've interviewed some people and I've not released that episode because I got caught up 2 years ago in, if they've got a big following, they must know what they're talking about. If people like their stuff and they've got 500 comments, they must have, some value to share. And then when interviewed, how do you improve your mindset? Just fucking wake up with a better mindset. Okay. Like, there's a difference. And I've seen this because even with my own sort of content, right? You can have a piece of content that goes, viral and you gain following and all that sort of stuff. Does that make you an authority or an influencer? Yes, because you've got a following. But does that make what you're actually saying and getting across to people valuable and also to a point... Not careful. You'd probably know the word better than me. Safe to share? Probably not. And that's what I've seen because I've seen, you can... And there's so much context to everything I know as well. And people do mean well in things that they share, but... Not
everyone, but yes. I think lots of people do mean well. Some people probably don't.
Like what you said, there's, just because someone got famous on a certain show or anything, do I think that that's someone I'm going to listen to in my life? Do they have value to share? There's questions that I'm starting to ask now and just starting to go... There's a lot of information. And I like that you kind of put that warning on my podcast.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there are not people that have been on reality TV shows that may be worth listening to. I'm just saying, as a whole, we're granting authority to people without really putting that through rigorous testing. And I think that that's really dangerous.
Because you also come from a background of psychology.
I have an undergrad, So I'm not a psychologist, but I have an undergrad in psych,
Yeah, so you have... a vast amount more knowledge than 99% of people that are thinking they know best of information that they read online and people that are sharing shit online. So from your standpoint, from what you've learned, you've kind of got a framework to go, that's nice words, but there's a lot more to it than that. When people are sharing things and posting things.
Yeah, I think yes, I have my uni degree and I've done other studies as well in different areas, and then also like life experience and having worked on myself a lot, like a combination of all of those three things I think has helped me decide who I do and don't want to give authority to. And then for me, I guess to say what I would look at for someone is, I look at their education. I do think that matters. It doesn't always matter. It's not the be all and end all, but it's worth asking yourself, what, if any, qualifications does this person have? How reputable is that qualification? Then what is their life experience? Because cool, if they've been they've got some serious life experience and they never studied, cool, all good. You've done that thing for 20, 30 years or whatever, then It's not all that. It's not all this. But I consider both. And then I ask myself, what do I see of this person's life? How do they carry themselves? What kind of relationships they have? Like for me, those three pieces. And then, yeah, just like then experience in the field. You know, if we're speaking very specifically in terms of like who you're listening to from like a coaching or social influence space, I think all four of those things are really interesting, and no one is the total answer, but consideration of all four should be asked because, yeah, I think a lot of people, especially if we're going to go specifically the coaching space, lots of really, me included, hurt, traumatized people enter into this space, start to feel good, then believe that the thing that they should do is teach that unto others before having properly worked through their own things. And I'm really grateful that I was 6-7 years into my personal healing journey, if not longer, before I started doing this for work, because something that's probably not spoken about enough, and you and I, again, were kind of talking about this earlier, is being a person and then being a guide to other people is a really challenging thing, because I'm a human and I have moments where there are things that are happening in my life that are really hard. And then I have to come into a space and I have to put down my own things and I have to be unbiased and unaffected by my own stories and my own experiences in order to give you a proper service. And that's physically not possible if you haven't done a certain degree of work, you know? And I remember certain moments where it clicked in for me where I have been fucked before going into a session and been like, should I or should I not do this session? I'm going to give it a crack. And then gone in and been like completely dissolved of anything that's going on in my own life because I was completely present with this person, to almost forget I had a problem till half an hour after they left and been like, oh fuck, actually my life's falling apart right now. But I've had to work to create that separation, and that's my big, where I feel, I guess, some concern and some like ethical and moral issues in the helping space. And this is even with psychologists. I was like, you probably should have to sit a psych test before you become a psychologist, you know, because our experience, our stories, our filters filter into how we serve you. And if I haven't dealt with my shit, I'm just going to hand you over my trauma and you're going to call it fucking therapy. You know, so I think that's why it's really important to ask yourself, like, how long have they been in the industry? How much work could they have possibly done? What kind of work do they do now? Who are they still working with? And do I trust to give this person influence over me when I'm vulnerable? You know, and I just think we could all afford to be more discerning about that.
I've seen it in the space of personal development, coaching. You know, there's been a huge wave, I guess, and it's probably in the past 10 years of like, you know, coaching certifications and this and that, and, you know, charge your worth, and some people charging ridiculous amounts for coaching and stuff like that, which I think people have value to add, and awesome, charge whatever you want. But I've also seen the side of it where it's like, it's become a business, and with, you said ethically and morally, like the things haven't really been put in place to support people in the ways that probably should, because it's an unregulated industry, because they've just been told what to do from someone that's done it before, and they've been like, well, I'll make a business out of telling people how to do this. And that continues. And I think the one thing that I've seen, especially when I have hired coaches, mentors and stuff like that in the past, is a lot of them were telling me what to do. Yeah. And it you know, at some point when you're looking for someone to give you that direction, cool. Yeah. But I was also like, when I've asked myself the questions, then I find the answers. If it's to do with something specifically like a strategy or this or that, different story. That's what I will outwardly seek. But the internal ones is the ones that I need to find on my own, or to have someone give me those questions to ask myself. And I find it so interesting that, you know, I love that people are becoming more confident in asking for help. It's just like, but where do people go? Because I see what I see on my feed, which is people that I follow, and I go, don't you fucking dare go to them. Like, I just go, I think, I've said this to a few people, I think you should go to therapy or a psychologist first. People that have come through my program's very surface in terms of your values, your purpose, forgiveness, gratitude. I don't go deeper because it's not my place. I'm not qualified. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing in that place. So I don't go there. This is a great first step in personal development journey. It's not over. Then you go on to the next thing. And for some people, it was like, I think I'd advise, because I can't help you with it and I don't know anyone else, that you actually go seek proper help in that area. Because who am I to say, I can solve all your problems with this 3-step program that I've developed? I'm a bit more genuine. I'm a bit more realistic than that. To be like, I'm sharing this, but it's also past my... If they've got more things, it's past my level of capability.
Yeah, and I think this thing that comes to mind for me is like, overcorrection is something that happens in healing, and I think that's what's happening societally is we used to not ask for help, and we used to have no sources, and it was too much that way. And I agree, and I love, and I do believe that even what's happening in what's wrong is for the best, that we've swung the other way and now we're all like, get help, do better, help others. And I think that's amazing. And I'm not saying that if you've had a breathwork journey and now you want to be a breathwork facilitator, there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, however long you think you need before you start servicing others, you probably just need a little bit more time. Don't not do it. Fucking yes, do it. Go. Like, I love that that's exciting you. I love that you want to do it, but do it from a moral and ethical place. And remember, you're doing it because you want to help others. This isn't about you feeling good and you being happy. That can't be the primary. You need to spend a little bit more time before you return to servicing others. And what I mean by overcorrection is no one asked for help. Now everyone's asking for help and everyone's asking from everyone. Right? And that's okay. I've been talking about this a lot in my online community is we do this. We have no boundaries and then we have too many boundaries. And then we realize we're being a CUNT and then we come back this way and we keep doing this and we pendulum until we find the sweet spot. So I think that's human and that's fine. And I think societally that's what we're doing. But I think in that, it's certain people's, when we see that, we need to talk about it. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, I think we've overcorrected. Don't stop asking for help. Don't stop wanting to start your own business and be a coach and be a healer if that's what you want to be. But be mindful of doing it right, doing it properly, and doing it from the right place. Because again, especially in this industry, it's this really challenging line that many of us don't like to honestly talk about between this is a business. I'm a person, I have goals, I have things I want to buy. But I did this because I wanted to help people and I wanted to change the world. And even if I wanted to do this, let's be honest, it's because I wanted to do that. So there's this constant battleground that if I'm selling cars, doesn't apply. You want a fucking car? I'm selling a car. Cool. There's no moral and ethical dilemma of what I'm being driven to price my car at, you know? So it's a very complex industry to be in with a lot of complex lines to walk. And you need to be at a very balanced and regulated place to do that from the right place, I think, you know? And I'm not saying that I always get that right or that I always have gotten that right or that I just said, question my authority. I'm not a psychologist. I've done an undergrad. I don't have my honors. I don't have my masters. I don't have a PhD. You know, there are things I say no to working with because they don't feel in my scope. I also know there's psychologists that are crap and people have worked with them for 20, 30 years and then come to me and been better in fucking 12 weeks, right? So all I'm saying is ask questions. Learn to think and discern for yourself because that's the true power these days, not the knowledge itself. You know, and I actually think the opening sentence you said is, when I look at your Instagram, you say a lot of things that make people think. And I love that because that's I've been thinking recently about just verbalizing my purpose for myself. And I think that's what it is for me is I want to make you think. I want to make you ask questions so that you don't settle for what you have in front of you. I think that's like my drive. And I think because I'm an agitating personality and I'm loud, I'm in your face, I kind of have that. I naturally make people think and feel a bit uncomfortable anyway. And I'm just learning how to leverage that. But yeah, fucking question me. Come tell me why I'm full of shit. I'd love it. Let's hear it, because that'll help me grow. That'll make me see where my gaps are, and hence me doing another course, because I just even myself thought to myself, actually, when was the last time I'd done a course? It'd been about 12 months since I'd learned something new. I'm like, okay, got to go do that, because I have a responsibility. If I'm going to say, hey, be better, do better, learn, I better be fucking doing the same thing, And I can think that's another one. Do they practice what they preach? That's big for me.
And I love that you said, like, do all the things, like, go to the wellness events and all that, but know when the discernment of, like, know when, one, it's becoming a reliant thing.
Yes.
Like, I need to go to this thing in order to feel this thing. And two is I can go and listen. Like for example, I have these conversations, every week. I'm very blessed. At the start of my podcast 5 years ago, it was like everything that person would say, I'd be like, that's me. Like, I need to take on all of this, and I need to, I'd go to a seminar and I'd listen to, Grant Cardone, and I'd be like, oh, everything he said, I now have to implement because I just listened to him. Whereas now, I was telling you before, is I don't have one person that I really look up to, and I take bits and pieces from people, but I also take it internally and go, how does that sit with me? Do I agree with that? Is that shared values for me? And if it's not, it doesn't mean it's bad information. It's just, it's information. And I get to now choose what it is, instead of, because that person either A, makes more money than me, or B, is more successful, that means I should listen to it.
Yeah.
It's take those things on board. And you said discernment, and I wrote that down.
That's my
as
word.
you were talking, because it's just...
It's the big D. It's the D everyone needs in their life.
It's the vitamin D that you need to have, is the discernment. Which I love this conversation. And we said at the start, like, where's this going? And I'm like, just let it flow.
And it's just gone a lot of where we were before anyway, but...
Which is what's need to be shared. I think that there's also this point of, I've known you for a while. And
You have? I was thinking about that before I came here. I'm like, fuck.
yeah.
That first conversation to now, I've come a long way.
and this is where it's really interesting, because I've been able to witness that, and not that we've spent a lot of time together. It's just there's certain moments, and not a retreat. We did that, like, cold and Torquay,
Yeah. It
and
was a little retreat staycation
ish thing. But also, like, there's been 2 conversations in that time, and I guess there's been we've both had these evolvements. What do you think has been for you recently? Because, when we first spoke, it was very different. What's been those most recent evolvements for you? Why do you think you've been able to create more calm in your life, but also more space to... You seem like you have a lot of clarity. And you seem like with the things that you're doing, you said to me before, it's been a year of putting in it, but it's like, does it feel good?
Yeah, it does feel good.
What's been that evolvement? What's changed? What's shifted?
The first thing that comes to mind is meditation. So I met my partner just over 2 years ago. He's a very big meditator. At the time, I was smoking weed most nights before bed. Just like a couple of totes, like not a full joint. But I would smoke a couple of things before bed, just as an easy way to switch off. And I meditated here and there in apps and whatever. And then I met him, and at that time in his life, he was like so calm and chill and balanced and didn't do any drugs or barely ever drink. And just after our first date, I'm a bit competitive. So I think I was like, if he's doing all that, I can't smoke weed anymore. Like, that's not good enough. I should do better. So I don't think I've picked up a joint again since then, maybe like once. And then, like I said, he was a big meditator. And then just over a year ago, I decided to go and learn meditation from a teacher. And I started doing that 20 minutes morning and night, sometimes more, now 25 minutes morning and night. And I think that that's a big part of it, because in meditation, you have thoughts and you have feelings, and you learn to observe them and come back to what you're doing rather than get swept up. And on the way to it, let me preface, you will get swept up and you'll fucking hate it. And you'll be like, what's the point of this shit? But eventually I got to a point, I think that's been a big part of it. I've just like found space, and I have created space from the noise, you know. I think meditation is a big part. I think just like compound interest on the fact that I've been doing work since I was 21 and been in this industry and doing this work for 6 years and own my own business for 3 and been learning and cutting relationships that don't serve and working with people that are more aligned, and finding the right coach has been a really big piece for me. I've been working with SJ for a year and I can see a big shift in my, you said you've had a lot of coaches that told you what to do. She has empowered me to be me and own that, you know? And yeah, I think also probably like, again, in some ways, my relationship hasn't always been easy, but my partner has never left, and I have a big history of being left, like being abandoned. And I do think there is something that's been very like, even though it's been really hard in several points in our relationship and still can be, he hasn't left. And I think that, speaking anxious attachment and all that sort of thing, there's a stability that comes in that, of just finally realizing that there's someone who wants to fight to make it work with you. Yeah, that they're the things that initially come to mind. But really, I think the really unsexy answer is compound interest. Like, it's that I'm not 2 years in or 1 year in and I didn't stop. Like, I think one thing that probably you get if you follow me online is I'm fucking consistent. Like, from that first time, I haven't wavered in what I'm saying or what I'm doing. Like, I've evolved and maybe my slightly things have changed, but not really. I'm still doing one-on-ones. I just do them in a different way. I've had one group program and I've been doing it for over a year. I think it's that compound interest thing. And that's really unsexy because everyone wants to hear, oh, do this 12-week program and you got better. Do meditation for 3 months and you'll be better. Meet the right person and you'll be better. Nah. Fucking years. I'm 30. I'm turning 31 and I've been fucking doing the work for over 10 years. And I show up every fucking day. And every time something goes wrong, I say, do fucking better, Nadia. And I look and I go back to my tools and I get up and I try again. I get up and I try again. And I'm not a victim about it. So I think it's just that. And people don't want to hear that because you want to go on and you want to hear the person that says, I did this 6-week course and I'm a fucking new person and you can be a new person too if you do this with me for 6 months. And we're like, fuck yeah, let's go, you know. But you don't want to join up to my community, which I would suggest you be involved in for the rest of your life, which is why it's $149 a month or $99 a month, because I think you will need this probably for the next 10 years. And that's why I didn't create a 6-week program. I created a community that runs in the background all the time, that covers many different topics in your life and gives you many different resources, because what will happen is life and you'll be great. And then you won't be great. And then you'll be great. And then you won't be great. And in all of those moments, you will need something a little bit different, but you will need to keep coming back and keep getting back on. And most people, I think one of the reasons why I'm in a place where maybe a lot of other people aren't, is because when they fall off for a lot longer than I do. I think my capacity to be off, I have a high level of agitation around that, and I have created a support system where I get back on really quickly. Everyone falls off. I've fallen off heaps of times, but I just get back on quicker, and I have certain non-negotiables that are more consistent, and that's what I like harp on about, and I think that's what's helped me get here, which I think was a really long-winded answer to your question.
But do you also think that that's because of you were saying before that you have the ability to separate from your emotions and feelings? Does that play a part into it as well?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Because if you have no separation from your thoughts and feelings, you think they're all real. And every second they want you to do some different shit.
And every second you're getting hundreds, thousands of them.
And it's consuming. And that was me. And I want to be clear, that's been me for a very, very long time. The meditation, the relationship, the compound interest, I think those things have helped a lot because there's a certain level of like stability that's come into them, you know? Yeah. And that, because you just can't, if there's no separation, it's just, and we've all been there, right? Something's wrong and it's all you can think about. Whereas now, my house could literally be on fire, and I might know, but I'm actually capable of going through periods where I forget completely because I'm so immersed in what I'm doing in front of me. But damn, did that take work. Like presence and discernment, hotkey, save that word, Google and YouTube it until you figure that out. Because I think those two things, everything comes from those two things, you know.
And I think from those two is where you find the difference between responding and reacting to things that happen. Like, for example, the other day, I live in an apartment building and you need key and fob to get up places. And I left everything inside.
Nice.
Walked out. My dad taught us from a young age, lock the door. Lock the door, as you would do anyway, but like lock the door. Went to the elevator. The elevator's right in front of my door. Pressed it and went, oh shit, where's my keys? Because you have to fob down. I can't get to my car. If I go in there, I can't get back up to my level. And I can't get in my room. And I had to go to work. And your brain will start to obviously react. And I was like, oh no. But then it went, okay, that's not going to help. Yeah. If I punch a wall, that's not going to do anything, right? I can't.
This is not a resourceful thought.
Yeah, like I've got my phone, but that doesn't help me in any way. It was like there's this automatic switch, and this comes from, like you were saying before, is that it's taken time.
Compound interest, yeah.
Of just, there's a solution. What's the solution? Okay, go to the person next door, see if they're home, and jump the balcony. They happened to be home. Lucky. It was like, they could have been at work, any of these things. Opens the door, I'm like, hey, next door neighbour, how you doing? Probably should introduce myself a lot longer, a while ago. Can I jump the balcony into my place? And he was like, and I'm like, it's me. Like, do you want me to prove that I live here? Like, please. And he's
my
like,
lease agreement here.
Yeah, he's like, okay. And I don't think you can. And I'm like, I can, mate. Don't worry, parkour. Went over the top, reached in, got in. And I was like, okay, crisis averted in 3 minutes. Instead of, I'll go downstairs. I'll ring someone. I'll cry and complain.
Or I'll just panic, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go downstairs. I'll ring mum and be like, Mum, this is fucked. Blah, blah, blah. I'll post on Instagram and be like, fucking worst day ever, blah, blah, blah. No, it was just like, what's the solution? And that was I don't know if everyone would have thought of that straight away, but there were lots of solutions. That was just I'll try this. If they weren't home, it would have made things a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
But there was always another solution that I could have went down. And I think that what was it? Discernment and presence. In that moment, like I feel like a lot of people just are in reactive mode.
100%.
And that kind of goes back to the stuff that you do talk about, is that regulation of, if you are high responsive, if you are unregulated, all these things, you will get caught up in those emotions, but you also just react to everything that fucking happens.
Yeah.
And I will also say, very openly, honestly, I've been there, and it still happens from time to time.
Of course, yeah.
But it's the compound interest is interesting, because I remember learning that back in network marketing. Darren Hardy, a compound effect, is a book. Is that I've also got to remember that I've been doing this since 18, going to courses, coaches, all these things. So 12 years of learning about thoughts, how they affect you, reading The Power of Now, reading Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
I thought that everyone has this. And then what I've been from observing, I took myself off social media for a good year when I was going through all my shit, observing, and when I had those conversations with people, being like, oh, they're not in that same sort of situation and haven't been working on themselves for that long. And I guess that's where I like to tailor my content to those people and keep things really simple and basic. And I love being able to share that, those little things. What do you think is a place for people to start where they do find themselves in, damn, I am reacting. Damn, I am listening to everyone else and getting sucked in these little vortexes of everyone else's advice. How can they bring the power back to themselves?
And the first thing I want to start with is put down your shame, pick up compassion, because we are naturally wired to react, And then we have to learn that there's another choice, and then we have to put in the work to have another choice. And there's nothing to be ashamed of when you didn't know any different. It's easier said than done, but I want to say that first. And I want to say that I share all of this and you share all of this not from a place of righteous indignation and look how good I am, but I'm saying I have fucking been you. You know, and probably if you go back to our first podcast, I probably told my story, and you will know that I come from no righteous place, and I tell it to tell you that if I could do it, you can do it. It's not magic. I said for years, meditation is not for me. You know, I have every genetic, lifestyle, financial, socioeconomic reason not to be in this place, and I got here anyway because I just didn't give up and I kept trying, you know. So that's the first thing. Compassion, keep trying. And then I would say pick one authority, maybe two. Look into why you want to give them authority to help you at this place in your life, and then turn off everyone and everything else, and then let that person guide you. Right? So I've suggested meditation. You could do breath work. You could do yin yoga. Those are 3 really core nervous system regulating, space creating internal practices that I think are fantastic. I would say if you really, really struggle with presence, breathwork and yin yoga can be an easier place to start and work your way up to meditation, because meditation can feel really hard as a starting place. And then just keep showing up to that thing and turn off the podcasts, get off social media, stop reading the books. Just pick a book and keep reading it until you've done everything it told you to do. Pick an authority and really, really listen to what they have to say, really deeply integrate. Because I'm not saying don't listen to people. Go see the people that have done the things you want to do and go fucking learn from them 100%. That is my fucking business. That is what I invest my money and time into. It is necessary. But be discerning, choose a person, and then find a space between learning, integration, and just blank space. On a very scientific foundational level, neuroplasticity, or your brain's ability to change, requires tension, focus, and rest. Without rest, excuse my flipping off there, without the rest, all the tension and focus in the world doesn't matter. You don't implement, the brain doesn't change, you didn't learn shit. You know? So the answer is not more, the answer is likely less. Everyone take a collective deep breath in and out. Just some light chat.
And I like those steps because it is quite simple, but it's also not, like you said, it's not the flashy things of, go do this thing. It's the simple, going back to the things you said right at the start, the simple things, but reiterating that things will take time. I think that's, you were mentioning before, people want the 1 week thing, the 1 day thing, all that. Even starting to read a book or whatever, take your time. Life isn't going to finish in 8 weeks. Or you don't get to the top of that mountain and then things are all coast and good.
It's just done.
How many mountains have I climbed? How many books have I read? How many courses have I done? They all gave me something. But the more I placed, that's the solution and that's going to solve all my problems, the more disappointed I got. Because, like you said, life will happen. It'll go up and down. So I think people accepting that things are going to take time is where we then understand, okay, take the pressure off, take 1 day at a time. Yeah.
And I'm not saying it'll take 10 years for you to feel better. And I'm not saying that you won't get immediate wins. All of those, it all happens at a different pace and a different whatever. And you'll have moments where you feel healed. And then you'll have moments where you feel like you haven't healed at all. And it's actually probably just more about the longer you get into the journey that you're more okay with those peaks and troughs, and they don't last for as long and they're not as intense. But yeah, please don't be scared off and be like, oh my God, it's going to take 10 years before I'm fucking functioning. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying it'll probably take more time than what you think. And the reason why you don't get to where you want is because you haven't seen enough results in a short enough period of time. So you go and do something else. You're not, again, this is the dopamine explore versus exploit dynamics. You're allowing your desire to chase dopamine and you're programming for instant gratification to take you away from the thing that is the answer because you're not being patient enough. And unfortunately, a lot of how the well-being space is shaped promotes for that to be harder for you.
How?
Because everything's designed in an idea that this course will be the answer to everything, as opposed to like, yes, this will teach you something of really high value that can change your life, but it won't be the end, you know? And yeah, like, but yeah, just patience is a virtue, which I would have said my whole life, I don't have that virtue, but here we are. I made it. I'm not saying I didn't complain a lot on the journey. I just didn't let those complaints stop me from getting back up.
Yeah. You didn't let it last a year.
No.
Give it time and then, move through it. Next one.
Next. Thank you, next,
Look,
as Ariana Grande would say.
Look at us in our 30s, being wise and patient.
Can't wait to hear.
Listening to our own advice.
Yeah. We'll be 40 and be like, don't listen to what we said when we were 30, we're dickheads.
I hope, I have some hope that the podcast will still be around then. If I keep enjoying it, then awesome. And we can have that conversation and be like, all right, 10 years. What were the lessons now? Did you do that when you turned 30? Did you have that moment of like, what did I do in my 20s and what have I learned?
I do that a lot.
Okay.
I reckon I do that every birthday, every birthday and New Year's, because for me they come at the same time. Every annual anniversary, me and my partner do it. But yes, I certainly did it at 30. But I do that a lot, which might also be another secret to my success that I don't talk about enough, is I reflect a lot on lessons and learn like that. Yeah, so I definitely did do that too. I think I probably did a social media post about it if you went back and had a look. Sounds like the kind of thing I'd post about. Did you do it?
Nah, I was deep in my shit at that time. I wasn't posting anything.
Did you do the reflection though?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think leading up to turning 30 this year, it hit pretty hard of like, there was almost a bit of like, you're not going to be in your 20s anymore. You're in 30s. 30s comes with, societal this. And a lot of like...
Well, you delivered. You had a baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. There's a lot of, I thought I'd be in this place or this. But I also look back and go, what did I do in my 20s? And, I was fucking living in Europe. I started, I think there's been 12 to 15 businesses and companies. I've had over 30 different jobs. Yeah. I've spoken on stages. I started a podcast and who knew it would last 5 years and be able to get, people like yourself on the podcast and people that I used to look at on social media and be like, that'd be cool to be friends with one day. We're a bit different for us. We've had a friendship as well. But like, other people that I kind of mentors and people I looked up to. So look at what it all created, a program, over 300 people through that program, spoken on stage, created my own stages, retreats, all this cool stuff that I'm just like, I did live my 20s. If it was to all end tomorrow, I'd look back and be like, yeah, I wanted to always make an impact. And I feel like if everything was to stop and I couldn't share anything anymore and social media fucking ended, whatever, my son can go on YouTube and look at my videos because, again, similar to yourself, the message has always been consistent, and I've left little seeds for people to consume if they want to, and water. That was always my intention.
Nice.
And that's why this podcast means so much to me, because it's like I get to share not only my messages, but you get to leave your seeds for people.
Which has always been your thing. I remember that from like the first conversation we had, you being very like excited by the idea of promoting the message of others, which interestingly not really been a big part of it's funny, like you said, we all have slightly different ones, but you've always said that, and that's cool to be able to look back and see that you've done that. I think a lot of my 20s were a lot less intentional than that. I just had a lot of fun, but I like...
See, I did the opposites for me. I didn't have much, I say, fun.
Yeah.
So now it's flipping.
Yeah. Whereas for me, my 20s were like fun experience. And then, towards the middle to the tail end of my 20s is when they became impactful. But I'm like, I don't regret any of that, I really, especially now, fun has been a real theme for me as something that lacks these days. And there's a lot of parts of my personality and part of my life that I miss out on as a result of that lack of fun. And that's still something I'm working on at the moment, is finding a way to make sure life is fun amongst all the serious building intention life things, is finding a way to have fun amongst that as well,
Yeah. So I said before, if everything was to go away and,
Yes.
and you leave your message. If you had social media was going to end, you had one chance to put up a message, a post, and that was the last thing people would see.
No pressure.
What would the message be that you'd like to share?
Don't settle for a life that's anything less than extraordinary, and never stop asking questions. As Winnie the Pooh said, think, think, think. I think that was him. Maybe it was Eeyore. I don't know. One of them said it. But just think, think, think. Ask questions. Be curious. Know that feeling amazing is available to you. So if you know that, where do you want to adventure? Where do you want to ask questions? Don't just accept what is for what it is. I think that word just think. I just want to make people think. Because I think that if you think, you'll find all the answers on your own. If I can make you agitated enough to keep thinking and to know excellence is available to me, it doesn't matter whether I'm here or you're here or who's talking or whether the internet exists or doesn't exist. You will think and wonder until you find the thing. But if you don't know there's more, if you think normal's normal, if you don't know how to ask a question or how to discern, there could be a pot of gold next to you and you wouldn't pick it up. Because this is all that exists in front of you. And this is how most people are living. And out here is all this stuff and they just don't even know it's there. So that'd be my mic drop.
You agitator. It's such a unique word, but it fits very well.
Me, yeah. Professional agitator. That should be my Instagram headline.
Agitator, trigger, one of those.
Literally. I think I have a post about that. If someone triggers you, say thank you.
Yeah. Walking around everywhere saying thank you. Why do you do it? Why do you do all of this? You don't need to. You don't have to. You don't need to share. You don't need to have a community. You don't have to do all this work to serve others in the way that you do. But why do you do it?
At this point in my life, I can't imagine what else I would do. You know what I mean? I love it. I'm good at it. And to be honest, I don't think I find it as hard as some people find it. So for right now, that's my answer right now. Why wouldn't I? At the start, it was, my life felt unfairly hard. And to deal with that, I had to find a reason it all happened to me. And the reason I created, rather than assuming that the universe always has one implanted, because at that time that didn't really make me feel better. The one that I created was, can I save one person from feeling what I had to feel? That's how it started. And now, I love it. And I feel I feel agitated when I see the average quality of life people are calling normal and accepting for themselves. I feel agitated when I want more for people than they want for themselves. I feel agitated when I see how parents are raising their children and people are treating their partners and friendships that people are having and the conversations they're watching, and we have this finite life, and with these fucking minutes, the things you're doing with them, I feel agitated that's how people are spending it. And I I want them to feel agitated because there's so much better out there, you know? And that's why I agitate you guys, because I feel agitated by it, you know? And that in a weird, peaceful way now. But yeah, sometimes I get mad. Sometimes I watch TV or I see social media and I feel angry, and I feel as a human, as a collective being, I have a responsibility to do something about that if I have the power to. And for whatever reason, I can talk like this. I can feel comfortable. I can deliver these messages. I have an ability to be articulate that I've developed. And I believe that to a degree that is my responsibility, and I love it, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. Damn, I can be preachy sometimes.
Yeah. But and I know when I've been asked, it's a very similar sort of feeling where it's like it's natural. Like I don't see myself doing anything else, and it's naturally in terms of communicating a message to others. That there's something about it, and that's also why I resonate with yourself and wanted you to be on the podcast again for the third time. But it's, you know, I naturally connect with people similar because there's something about it that's, you know, we're wanting to teach, we're wanting to serve, we're wanting to help, and you mentioned that because you don't want someone to feel how you felt or be in that situation and not have the support, and I really admire that because that's ultimately, you know, how we then pass on the teachings, the lessons, the healings to the next person. What do you think is the change that people need to implement in order to just start doing that? Would have been in the zone of this is who I am, this is what I do, and I'm just accepting that life is this way. What is that change? What is that?
Space to ask questions. Like literally go for a walk without your phone and just like think. Do you remember that thing? Thinking? Not about TV. Just think, ask questions. Why? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? Why do I feel like this? And the old fucking adage of that therapist on the couch saying, why? Just like no noise and ask why. Maybe you do that pen to paper. Maybe you do that closing your eyes meditatively. Maybe you walk in silence. But just that would be the starting place is, ask why. Because I think from there, as I said, you will create your own internal agitation and your own drive and motivation to get answers. And then that will drive you to the authorities or to the resources. And then it goes back to the advice I gave earlier, which is pick one, not many. Do it for a long period of time. And allow that to naturally show you the next piece and the next piece, and be mindful of your explore versus your exploit dynamics in terms of, have I actually gotten everything that I need to get out of this thing? Have I integrated? Have I implemented before I get excited by the new thing? And you just start a list. These are all the modalities, and this is literally the premise of my community. There is bazillions of modalities that have helped me get here. But the first thing I say to everyone when they come in is, well, you're starting here, and until you finish this, you don't go on to anything else. And from this, it will reveal what the next step is for you. And when you've integrated this fully, then let's ask ourselves, what's the next needle in the haystack, you know? And I think, ultimately, if you do that, again, we're wired to resolve our own agitation, I think. It's just that there's so much noise right now, you're disconnected from your own innate desire to feel good. And you're numb as a result of toxins in the environment, crap in your food, TV, social media. Like the noise is making you numb. And if you can find space from the noise, I believe you will ask the questions that will help you get to where you need to get to, you know?
I love that. So what's coming up for you? What's exciting things that people can plug into? How can they learn more? Dive deeper.
So I'm definitely super active on social media. So nadia.sophia.coaching. I have my online community that I've referenced a couple of times here called The Revolution. And it's very much designed around all the premises that we've spoken about today. This idea of looking at all the facets of who you are from my perspective of well-being, and different tools and different coaches being brought in. And again, giving you like a support system that's ongoing. It's a community. It goes with you. It travels with you. You can move from topics at a safe pace without feeling like you have to rush at the end of a period. I also work one-on-one. And yeah, I have a few things coming out in the new year. For me, I kind of work on 2 scales. I work, everyday people in the normal, not feeling good, wanting to feel better. And for them, I have a course coming out called State Shifter, which is, again, really foundational. Like, how do I take control of how I feel? How do I get that gap between emotion and reaction? It's like a really basic intro level shit that you need to know without the fluff. And then on the other side of what I do is high performers, outliers, people that have big dreams and want to really push to that next level. I have something coming out for those guys in the new year that I'm really excited about as well. And, on theme with me, I like to narrow my focus. I don't have a million courses and a million layers. I've had my one-on-ones and I've perfected that. I then moved into the Revolution and I've been running that for now over a year, and it's feeling like a really strong community that's ticking along. People are getting results. I feel really good about that. From that, I've now moved on to these next 2 things that I'll focus on next year. And for me, it's about doing a few things, doing them really well, catering to the markets that are really important to me. And that's what it looks like for me at the moment. Could evolve, could change, but that's what I'm feeling really focused and excited about at the moment. And yeah, also just finishing a course. I'm studying something with the Flow Research Collective, Stephen Kotler, Neuroscience of Human Performance, Flow State, all that sort of stuff. So really, I come from the mental health space originally, and then I've moved into the performance space as a result of my own life experience and having fallen in with a lot of like fighters. I work with MMA fighters and boxers and all that sort of stuff. Kind of now transitioning and focusing my education on more the performance side of things, because I feel like I can do the mental health stuff pretty inside, outside, back to front now. And now I'm just like honing my craft in the performance space. And yeah, really, really enjoying that. Working with athletes is just like a whole other ball game. And it's really fascinating for me to, work with people that are at different levels of consciousness, and we all need different things at different times. And I get something really different from both sides of that. So I'm, really excited to keep nurturing what I've built in the mental health space and really nourishing this tree that's been planted with the Revolution, but also continuing to develop my my presence in the performance space.
Awesome. It's been so nice to see that evolution and to we said when we seen each other, we're like, when was the last time I've seen you? It's been so long. And like I can, openly admit I've pulled away from everyone and everything with all the stuff that went on in life, but it's so nice to catch up and so nice to have these conversations, because you are someone that I respect. You are someone that I feel is putting out content that is of value. And as I said before, I don't just get anyone on the podcast. Like, I have to genuinely have a connection with that person in terms of I connect with their message, their intention, but also, if I have that added advantage of having a connection in person, then that's always beautiful too. And I think that being able to be a friend as well and see that happen and see how consistent you've been, it shows. Like, no wonder why you have X results from being consistent. And I think that it's so undervalued, that consistency part, and we've both been able to get to a certain point, have some really high highs and really low lows along the way, but knowing that that's normal and that's part of that process. And it's just really, really nice to see that someone like yourself is doing it for the right reasons, is genuinely wanting to serve and help people. And yeah, I know some of your clients, and I've been part of those certain networks and stuff like that, so it's been really nice to see their testimonials and see their improvements as well. So thank you for what you do, who you are, and for sharing everything today. It was really awesome.
Thank you. And thank you for having me and being a part of that journey. And yeah, it's always a pleasure. We always have good chats. And yeah, I really, especially the word respect, that's always a really nice, I think for me, that's a very high value word. And I think that's an important thing to look at. Do you respect the people that you're listening to? Because I think that's really important. So thank you for having me. And I look forward to doing this many times over the next 10 years and beyond.
Well, you know what? The interesting thing is I was sitting with it and I've noticed different thoughts in my head where it was like, I don't want to do them online, which is because I like doing it in person.
Yeah.
And the other one was, I can't have the same person on like 2 or 3 times. Like it's the same. You want variety, blah blah blah. And I just went, well, no. Like if we've got so much knowledge to share. We've only just touched on this amount of this, and the other side of it is if I really value the person and their knowledge, then why not? So for me, it's been getting out of my own way when it comes to this. And, if I stayed in my own way, we wouldn't have had this conversation because it would have been like 2 times, get out.
She's been used. I'm done with her.
You're off the list. We know everything now. But definitely if you want to know more about Nadia, there is... those episodes you can go back to. I'll link them in the show notes as well.
I feel like I need to go listen to them back in my own evolution when I listen to the 3 sessions. It'd be funny. I'd be interested to see how... I don't think they are similar at all from what I remember.
No
like
way.
Worlds apart.
No. And because it was a decent amount of time in between, and I think if we look at the time of like, let's even say, it has to be within 5 years, we've both grown so much in that time and evolved. So each time was at a different evolution. And I think, even people, first time listeners, they go back to the very start and I'm like, I was 24. I was saying every second word. Like, don't go there.
I still say like too much, but anyway, that's something I'm trying to work on.
Once you become aware of it, you can change it. But the when people say, I went back to the start, or I see it on the stats of people going back to the first one, I'm like, cool. I don't go back there. I don't want to hear or see, but it's nice to look back on how far we've grown. How far we've come. So until next time, thank you. And everyone that's listening, if something has inspired you, if you've taken something away, maybe it's that little bit of like, okay, I'm not going to overthink this too much. I'm going to keep it simple, take the points that have inspired me. Awesome. But my one ask is to wherever you're listening or watching, like, subscribe, and go across to Instagram. That's where I share all these little clips, TikTok as well and all those things. But if there will be a lot of little clips from this conversation. There's been some mental notes I've been taking that I'm going to clip up. Share it, go ahead if there's something in there. Like I've noticed that when people have shared things, it's when they've inspired and planted a seed for someone else. Especially if you go across the Nadia's page and just see the stuff that you post. Like you've got a lot of reels, a lot of information. Like go suss those things out because there's a lot of value in there as well. So wherever you are, thank you for listening. And until next time, take care. Peace.